Today I'm going to provide you the 10 biggest insurance agency building mistakes that I have experienced personally or seen other agencies experience in the last 10 years that I've been building. I have a multi-million-dollar earning agency that I've developed for the last 10 years that valued at over 8 figures last time we looked. And today I want to share with you the things that many agency owners screw up, the 10 top things, because I am very interested in paying forward what I have learned through trial and error, and I want you to avoid those mistakes and just work on being successful so that you can make more money in your agency building efforts quicker. My name is David Duford. I own Insurance Agency Builders. I have nothing to sell you. I don't even recruit agency builders. All I'm interested in doing is helping you out, giving you some great information on building your agency. Consider subscribing if you tend to like this content. So let's jump right in. So the first thing is agency owners, big mistake, generalizing as opposed to specializing. So you as an agency owner should become the master of one thing. You probably were as an agent. That's why you're successful to the degree that you were. But if you get into this business thinking you're going to be everything to everybody, you're going to have a lot more complication in the execution of your recruitment, training, and downline selling activities. When an agent has to come in and say learn final expense, Medicare, annuities, and ACA all at once, all together, that is an exponentially more difficult and challenging proposition than just teaching them how to sell final expense first and then get to the rest later. We want our agents to experience success quickly, meaning they learn the business quickly and then get in front of prospects as fast as possible to close them. Because if you have this very long, drawn-out onboarding learning process that takes months to learn, and they're not getting actual reps in the field selling, you don't even know if these people are going to be successful. Plus, there's just too much to know. So long story short, I recommend that you keep your business model simple. Have one particular product, maybe it's final expense, mortgage protection, term, it doesn't really matter, but one product that you lead with to teach that agent, and then make sure they understand why that's the case, which is it's easier to learn, faster to start making money. In the longer term, if you do sort of any kind of generalization of product offerings, do it later after the agent has some traction. Number two, comp chasing strategy. So a big problem I see, especially on the life insurance side of the business, is that there's a lot of agencies that are developed that promise the highest levels of commission. To me, this is the inversion of the Walmart strategy. We have the lowest cost everywhere. Nobody's lower cost than us. If you're always chasing after a person who's looking for the best deal, because that's really what it is, in this case, the best deal on price, you don't have a loyal prospect. You don't have a loyal client. You have somebody who's concerned about the bottom dollar. Now, you may, as an agent, think, well, that's what I want. But the reality is most agents, I would say 90-95% of agents, don't care about having the highest commission as they do about having the highest and most functional relationship that protects them and that gives them the value that they need. Like, for example, training, support, a quality lead program, you know, the business model and the way they want. Maybe they want to be virtual instead of face-to-face. So comp chasing and offering the highest comp, it really gets the lowest quality agents. In fact, I think some of the fraud that's so prevalent, especially on the life insurance side, stems from this constant agitation to give the best and the highest level of commissions. So you need to, in your delivery, my recommendation, is to alter how you're recruiting. Don't make it about comp. Make it about something else that's valuable. To speak to an agent that appreciates that stuff as opposed to the highest level of commissions ever. Number three, little to no recruitment standards. So don't be like me, who over in 2022 and 2021, only required an agent to go through an onboarding call to just ask questions before they can start contracting. I contracted 100 people a month at my highest point, and I've had more fraud because of that process and hits to my net income due to fraudulent upline or downline chargebacks than I ever had in any previous time where I was a little bit more tighter on who I recruited. So my advice to you is that if you get into the agency building already in the agency building game, is make sure that you have what I would call a velvet rope strategy. Don't just take anybody with a pulse. Please don't do that. It's the stupidest thing ever. Make them vie and work to even interview and talk with you. For example, I don't talk to anybody. I don't even have my number on my website. I don't want to be called about random questions that they can go look at the FAQ. It shows me a lack of initiative when an agent won't just research for themselves and they just got to call somebody to get the answer. You know, I'm not servicing them. They're servicing me. So I make them go through the FAQ section on our site. I make them apply. I make them even film a video to send to us. Again, they got to know a little bit of technology. You know, if they can't even figure out how to upload a video to YouTube and share it with us and be private, they probably won't know how to do an e-app, right? So I don't want those people. And then we interview them, and we have an objective formula to determine where they fall on a scale of 1 to 10. And if they're below a number, we don't hire them. And if they're above them, we do. And all of this happens with very little resistance from the vast majority of agents. And I would even go further and say most agents appreciate this because they want to work with us. They know we care. We're just not recruiting everybody because that is the way most of this industry works. So whether you go to the extreme I do, even more extreme or less extreme, you got to start having some sort of process to make people work to get to you because that'll make you more valuable in their eyes, and it'll help you get the better quality agents out there too. Number 4 on the list here is building way too early in your career. Again, if you build too early in your career, you don't have street level experience, you don't have the wisdom of what it's like to sell, to deal with prospects, to close, to handle objections, and you're going to be at a disadvantage long term because you don't have that valuable street cred experience. There's very few recruiters that get into this business and begin recruiting that hadn't been beat up as an agent for sometimes years before they are successful building their agency. I didn't start recruiting until 2 years in. I definitely didn't want to recruit to begin with. I wanted to know what I was doing first because I have other people's careers on the lines. They're trusting me to know and be able to help them and have the knowledge necessary to. And if I didn't do that, then I would have probably not been nearly as effective getting on in my career and certainly later on. And this is a world we're in now where that is a requirement. So please don't fall victim to this, you got to recruit right away stuff. Get up and running, be successful first. Maybe it's 6 months, 12 months, whatever. Get some success as an agent and then start recruiting. It'll serve you for the long haul if you just do that. Number 5, transitioning out of selling personally too soon. So this is another thing. Oh, I'm going to start recruiting and immediately not sell anymore. Bad idea. It takes a long time to be comfortable and confident that your downline is going to consistently sell every single week, so you get paid consistently every single week. It took me, and I'm pretty conservative, 4 years, maybe 4.5 years, before I got out of full-time sales and then basically didn't do any sales whatsoever. 4.5 years, okay? I was running full-time leads from about 2013-14 to 2017 in the summer. I would have people and do ride-alongs with me to go watch me sell in the field, but I sold full-time because I could not depend on my agents to produce because I just didn't want to be stuck and have to go back to work for somebody. So what I think is the best thing to do is that as you scale up your recruiting, you don't let it get you out of full-time production. And that means you're going to have to work a lot of hours for a long time. Now, I've seen some agency owners get out of it in 6 to 12 months with the right knowledge and setup, so that's great. But for me and for you, it should take as long as it needs to, and because you don't want to end your business prematurely because you're just sick and tired of selling, and now you depend on people who are undependable. Don't want that. Number 6 on the list here, promoting top agents as managers. This is a mistake. You see, being a top salesperson is different from being a manager. I just got done with a conversation with a gentleman who is a great producer. He's very good at what he does. And he's been put in somewhat of a management training role, and he's starting to despise it. It's taking away from his personal production. It's very emotionally draining to deal with agents that, unfortunately, many of them don't do anything. And it's been a net drag on his capability to be successful. Whereas if he were just simply selling, as many managers converted back to agents realize, he would have made a lot more money. So I recommend that you find good people who have a knack for coaching, training, and feel good about helping others from a managerial standpoint to be your downline managers or your trainers, like what we do at DeFord Insurance Group, my agency, as opposed to taking top producers out of the field and making them managers. It usually doesn't work well. They get frustrated and angry, and you risk losing them entirely. Number 7 on the list here is not having a track to run on. So I just got done filming a video on strategies to keep your top producers. So you can't just have somebody come in and do a job like we talked about earlier. This is a career opportunity. This is an opportunity not just to make money, a lot of it, but to eventually build a business model that's based on a passive income, maybe through agency building or passive income products. You need to show them a process, a vision long term. That keeps a lot of your best talent on. If you don't do this and it's just a rote rinse and repeat recruitment, and it's very uninspiring and there's no direction, it's going to be hard to motivate people to get out there and get beat up on the phone or in person day after day if there's not some long-term vision attached to it that will amplify and raise their career prospects. Number 8, you're doing everything. This is my personal issue that I had for a year. Again, I wanted it. I asked for it, so I'm not complaining. But I never had an employee for the first 9 years of my business. I had VAs, but I would do all the training, all the support, all the onboarding, all the recruiting. And it got to the point where I was making a lot of money, but I just didn't do anything else. And that was cool. I love what I do. I still do. But I wanted to be able to free up my time and have a business that works for me, not me work for the business. Does that make sense? So what you need to be doing, it may not happen right away, but you need to be looking at ways not just to scale more agents into your agency, but to scale yourself and duplicate yourself so that you have more of a business that runs without you as opposed to the business that only can run with you. Number 9 on the list, no vigorous agent demands. So this is very important. Things that have worked really well for our agency. Number 1, if somebody's not selling in that first week of business, then we fire them. We take them off of advances. If somebody doesn't show up to our training calls as prescribed and recommended, then we fire them. We get rid of them. This is all 1099 work. They're not employees to us, but we do expect a level of expectation out of their behaviors and performance. We don't have to work with them. The relationship that we have is on a 1099 basis. And my point here is that if we don't have adherence to the system, what happens is it starts to bring the culture down. You have a group of people who, half of them will just show up to calls and never make the calls, the training calls, but never actually make the sales calls. And that culture of just like no expectations, whatever goes, man, is not conducive to building high levels of production. You want to corral and keep the winners and vigorously reduce the losers as quickly as possible. We do this on the front end, in the recruitment process, obviously the training process, and we'll cut ties with people who just don't perform anymore because it drags everybody down and it reduces potentially the elite culture we're trying to build. And the last thing here, number 10, is no brand building. The best thing I ever did in building my agency was doing exactly this right here. Getting on camera, my iPhone 4 at the time when I started, and just talking about different aspects of the business. And consistently doing that for now almost 10 years. And fast forward 10 years, I'm a well-known person in the insurance sales space. People know who I am. They trust me. I've got a very high level of trust and credibility with many people, many of which whom I don't know. And it's all because I really wanted to help people and build a brand. And it really wasn't about building a brand as much as providing free information, very much like what I'm doing here on the insurance agency building side. So what I would recommend to you is do something of the same. You don't have to go to the same extent. You don't have to do daily content like what I do at the Ford Insurance Group. You just put out a video every couple weeks. Consistently put out some production of, or some videos of whatever topics you want to talk about: sales training, marketing training, mindset training, the business, the success. Get your name out there. Get it spread out there. And what you'll find is over time, people will look at you not just as another business, but as a professional. And people feel good about it. And that trust level is inherently important to building yourself. And it makes the whole process of recruiting that much easier. If you're doing a lot of cold recruiting and you don't have some way to inject a brand in there, it's very difficult. People are going to understandably be less trustworthy of what it is that you're doing. So those are my 10 biggest mistakes that insurance agencies make that you want to avoid. I hope you enjoyed this video. Subscribe to this channel because we'll talk about more big mistakes that I've made that you can avoid, and some successes I've had too, of course, so that you can see more success out of your agency building. I have nothing to sell you, remember, but I do have something to give you. If you go to insuranceagencybuilders.com, I have some sort of freebie there, like a free book or advanced copy of a free book or some content. I haven't quite decided to the filming of this, but go there, insuranceagencybuilders.com, check it out. And thanks for watching. See you.